It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
Welcome to On Target Radio, America's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm David Lombardo, and across from the council is my co-host, Tim Dalan. Say hi, Tim.
How's everybody doing tonight?
That's not a hi.
Hi, David. How are you?
There you go. Every Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m., Tim and I will be talking about all things Second Amendment, and you will have an opportunity to call in and talk to our guest. And for the 15th week, we invite Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel to come on and discuss gun control. Also, we would like to wish Jeff Pincus well. On Saturday, January 7th, the Pinker is moving the Man Show to AM 1530 WCKG from 11 to 1 weekdays. Jeff, I love you, brother, and I appreciate all you've done for Safer USA and On Target Radio. Let's get together for a cigar and the best wishes on your new show and for a new year. And this week, Tim, we have a new feature. It's David's Rant of the Week.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure you are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Liberals have been shouting in my face for years that this isn't 1950s, and everyone needs to be more tolerant of what others want to do. Okay, I get that, more tolerant. Let me reassure you that I don't want to prevent you from being a vegan. That's a discussion you'll have with your doctor in about 20 years. And I don't care if you don't like God. That's between you and your ancestral chimpanzee. And believe it or not, I don't really want to stop Bob and Bruce from taking whatever vows they choose. Really, I don't. My motto is live and let live. What I do want is for you to keep your quiche-stained hands off of my guns. Put that on your Wikipedia favorite list. Listen up, all you latte-drinking, sushi-eating, Volvo-driving, New York Times-reading, body-piercing, Hollywood-loving, left-wing freak shows. The Second Amendment isn't about hunting or recreation. No, I do have hunting rifles and shotguns, and I hunt, kill, and eat birds and animals, but I do it within conservation guidelines. Here's what you don't get. You know that house you live in? The one you built to escape the city, then brought the city with you and screwed up the neighborhood? You know, the one with the hot tub on the patio next to the $2,000 Weber grill, and that 3-car garage with an electric car, a canoe, and a 10-speed bicycles with those cute little helmets and tight pants. A family of deer used to live there before you cemented up the prairie. Those deer are now dying of disease because there's too many of them fighting for what little land you chose not to squat on. You don't want hunters culling the herd to bring it down to a sustainable level? Blow up your house and go live off the land in a tent and give your property back to its rightful owners. I don't own firearms for hunting. Hunting is something I can do with the firearms that I own. Let me tell you what the Second Amendment really is all about. It's about two things. First, it's about protecting my country from foreign and domestic threats, like Admiral Yamamoto wrote in his memoirs about his choice not to continue on to California after Pearl Harbor. You cannot invade the mainland United States, he said. There would be a rifle behind each blade of grass. Thank you, Issaruko, and I personally plan to maintain that status quo. Which leaves domestic threats. Now, you know, those professional politicians who know better than the common man what's good for them, people who decide what words are acceptable, what ideas are correct. Eventually, those self-righteous narcissists are going to cross the line, and guess what? There are 80 million gun owners standing on the other side waiting. And let me disabuse you of the idea of confiscating all firearms. You remember the 80 million gun owners? Well, there's only about 700,000 police officers. You do the math. And by the way, an awful lot of them and the military are going to be standing next to us. When you cross that line, you personally don't have the cojones to cross the line. You'll send somebody else to do it for you. And when they cross the line, they'll recognize us. We also have tattoos. Ours are coiled rattlesnakes saying, "Don't tread on me," and the words Molon Leve. Look it up between your tanning bed treatments and therapist appointments. It's spelled Molonlabe. It's French. How is that for irony? Second, a nifty byproduct of having a firearm is it can also be used to defend me, my family, and my friends from socially deviant miscreants who are too stupid and inbred to recognize that the people handing out the free stuff from Uncle Sugar are actually working for a living. Unfortunately, their job is to hand out money For tattoos, big cars, cigarettes, cracked open diapers, paid for by the 49% of us that actually do work for a living. So listen up, crackheads. You're already getting a free ride, but if you try to threaten me, my family, or friends to get enough to cover your next fix, you better hope Obamacare covers mortuary costs. And that, Tim, is my rant for the week.
That was a good one. I want to know how come you get 3.5 minutes and I get one?
Because my name's on the door.
Ah.
And now, moving rapidly on, tonight we're going to be talking about close quarter defensive tactics. And we have in the studio with us this evening old friends. We have Nick Farooqui and Barb Ehlers. Nick Farooqui is the founder and chief instructor of Ballistic Fighting Methods and StreetSafe101.com. He's a 20-year martial arts veteran and has been doing security consulting for the past 8 years. Nick is also a private contractor to federal and local law enforcement agencies and travels around the country giving seminars on hand-to-hand combat, edged weapons, batons, and more. He's also a certified NRA pistol instructor and teaches his hand-to-hand and edge weapons courses through Safer USA. Nick, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
And Barb Ehlers has been involved with self-defense training for approximately 8 months now and is an advocate for getting women involved in self-defense training. Barb trains with Nick Farooqui's Ballistic Fighting Methods program. Barb stresses self-defense training for women doesn't require any special skills or private experience and cites she's a typical mom of 3 and mentor for teens at Willow Creek Church. Barb, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, here's probably how we should start. Nick, you might want to answer this. What exactly is close quarter?
Well, Dave, to define close quarter, the best way to look at it is between the correlation between projectile and non-projectile close quarter. Close quarter with a projectile weapon, whether it's a handgun, carbine, shotgun, slingshot, whatever you might have, is typically at 21 to 25 feet or in. And the point of dominance, when we talk about a point of dominance, is usually from 4 to 6 feet from our target. But when you're talking about non-projectile situations, non-firearm situations, so hand-to-hand, edge weapons, batons, and such, close quarter is 2.5 feet or less. And point of dominance is pretty much when I get around your neck. So it's very close, very personal.
When you talk about this, the sort of conventional fighting is if you're going to do fist fighting, it's kind of stepping back and opening up space to do that. But you tell people that that's a really bad idea.
Yeah, the farther out you are, it kind of becomes a chess match. It's footwork, timing, line familiarization, and such. And you don't want to get into that 50-50 shot. You will have greater leverage the closer in that you are. And if you can imagine a distance where I can strike you with my hands or my feet, the closer I get in, I will have more tools available. So I can use my elbows, my knees, my shoulder, my fingers, headbutting, biting, eye gouging, and such. So the closer in I get, the greater leverage I will have.
You're listening to AM 560 WIND. This is On Target Radio. And tonight we're talking about close quarter defensive tactics. If someone gets you into a knife fight, which is clearly not something one wants to do, but if someone does that, there you are talking about backing off.
There you are talking about backing off. Distance comes to your advantage over there. And once you have learned the proper tactics required to be able to defend against a edged weapon or even utilize an edged weapon for your own purpose, you'll realize how the distance makes a huge difference in surviving or not surviving that altercation.
I know the first time that I went to your edge weapons class, I had absolutely zero intention of getting in the class. I just wanted to observe it. And I don't know, how long did I last? Like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
and then,
like 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and then I was in it. It is absolutely, well, first of all, I hate to even say this, but it's fun.
Yeah.
We had a good time. But it was so unique. It was not like anything that I had a preconceived notion of what it would be like.
Sure.
And I'm sure you. How many students do you have? Barb works with you, right?
Yeah, Barb's a student of mine. She's been with me for about 8 months. I've been teaching for over 12 years. At my studio itself, there's close to anywhere between 45, 50 students there regularly. But we have seminars that go on throughout the country, so I get to reach out to a lot of people.
And how often do you train, Barb?
About 3 times a week.
Really?
I go in, yes, correct.
So you have no life. Is that you spend your time kicking people, right?
Oh, I love to practice on the kids. Not so much.
Which, by the way, you're talking about your kids, not
yes.
Your kids is a different issue. Well, actually, it's not. But this is not. I refer to them, and I don't mean to insult anybody. This is not a dance studio, right?
Not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah, I studied Hapkido, which I very much liked.
I enjoyed it.
But it was
too.
woven with Taekwondo, which I used to call dance lessons, and I was with like 9-year-old kids. And it's not that I have anything against 9-year-old kids, but I was a cop trying to learn an alternate way. It's either shooting people or my getting beat up, and I thought it was kind of troublesome that I was. And then we had to do shows every month or something for parents, and my parents are dead, so it didn't really help me much.
Maybe broke some boards.
I broke some. Yeah. You never know. But so anyway, we're going to come back after a few messages here, and we're going to talk more with Nick Farooqui and Barb Ehlers from Ballistic Fighting Methods about close quarter defensive tactics. Excuse me. And you're listening to AM 560 WIND and On Target Radio.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gun Works offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gun Works, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunWorks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Tim and I would like you to join us at the Gotcha Outdoors Adventure Sports Show, Saturday and Sunday, January 5th and 6th in Kankakee. There will be thousands of dollars in prizes and great kids' activities, such as archery and shooting slingshots with world record holder and slingshot expert Chief AJ. You won't want to miss the reptile rampage, seeing the live deer, or visiting the huge exhibit hall with over 70 vendors. There's also lots of information and informative seminars and great food. Special guests include Spiritual Outdoor Adventures TV host Jimmy Seitz and the Takedown Outdoors Pro staff. Best of all, it's affordable family entertainment, with adult admission only $5, seniors $4, kids 7 through 16 are $3, and under 6 get in free. Be sure to join the On Target Radio team at the Gotcha Outdoors Adventure Sports Show, Saturday and Sunday, January 5th and 6th at the Kankakee First Church in Kankakee. For further information, visit GotchaOutdoors.com or call 815-933-1000. That's 815-933-1000. 1,000. Timmy, we'll see them there, right?
Yeah, we'll see them there. It's going to be a great time. I've been there the last 2 years now. It's always a great show.
Did you say you're going, Nick?
I'm going to try and make it out there.
Okay,
yes, for sure.
Good. Barb, you going to go? Say yes.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, they're nice guys. I enjoyed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we had a good time. We've been there 2 years?
I think we were just... You and I were just there last year. I was there the year
before.
Right. I was there with the Illinois State Rifle Association doing their table the year before.
It is. It's a good time, and they're very, very nice people. So really, come and join us. We'll hang out. Tim and I are both doing a couple of seminars each, and then we'll hang out at the booth, and we'll talk about concealed carry or whatever.
Right. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Come and see us. Remember to bring those leftover Christmas treats. We'll take them off your hands.
Absolutely. Got to do that. So you're listening to AM 560 WIND. This is On Target Radio. We're talking this evening about close quarter defensive tactics, and we're talking with Nick Farooqui and Barb Ehlers from Ballistic Fighting Methods. So, Nick, Jeff Hanley has on Facebook asked the question, any thoughts from your guest on the taser as a self-defense weapon?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan for tasers. They fail quite often. Clothing makes a huge difference. So if you try to tase somebody who's wearing like a winter coat, it is pretty much an ineffective weapon. And most importantly, like any other weapon of self-defense, the first thing that it needs to have, it has to be instantly deployable. Now, I don't really walk around with a taser in my hand all day long. And I believe Illinois, you can't even have one on you. It's just like a concealed carry type of a situation.
I know you can own one, but I'm
not sure if you can keep one on you.
I haven't looked up that. Yeah, that's probably worth taking a look to see what it says.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, though, the concept of close quarter defensive tactics is, if we're being realistic, and in the seminar, Tim and I talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
If you let somebody get within 6 feet of you,
right.
First of all, it's probably your fault. You screwed up. But if that happens, and he has any kind of a weapon, firearm, knife, anything, club, there's no way, even if you have concealed carry permit, that you could get a gun out and beat him because he's got it on you.
He's got it on you.
And that's the whole purpose of close quarter defensive tactics.
Well, when you guys teach your tactical pistols classes, we talk about this. When you're engaging in close quarter projectile situations, that is when you're drawing from the holster and you're doing the zipper method of shooting, you're hammer pairing and that kind of thing. Again, within 6 feet, you need to, that's just wasting time to reach for a firearm. You need to go hands-on instantly. And hopefully you can, if you have a firearm, if Illinois ever becomes a concealed carry state and you feel like the situation requires you to have a firearm, hopefully you can open up the distance where you can grab your firearm.
We encounter in the seminar people who have these astounding misconceptions, and they oftentimes believe that they put a gun on, and if anything happens, they just pull a gun out and they shoot the bad guy. And what they don't understand is they're the victim. Mm-hmm. They don't understand that the bad guy is watching them, and they don't even know he exists until it's too late. And there literally, typically, is not enough time to draw a firearm if somebody has come after you personally. If you're in a 7-Eleven and somebody sticks it up, that's one thing. But if somebody is coming at you, they may come at you from behind.
Dave, this is where I think it's really important for a woman to be involved and be educated in the close tactics fighting. For example, a couple years ago, I was taking a dog for a walk, and I had a male that would follow me as I walked. And as each time, just in my neighborhood, walking in my neighborhood, he'd get closer and closer and closer to where he did eventually come up and try and grab me. And that is probably the first time I met Nick was in that type of situation where I felt so uncomfortable with how to handle myself and handle that situation that I looked into the women's self-defense classes that Nick teaches to be able to work on my self-confidence and be able to feel comfortable in a situation like that. Women find themselves in those type of situations quite often.
Well, and I think that's a really good point because, again, it gets back to you don't know you're the victim until you become the victim. And I think particularly, and I don't mean this in a sexist way at all, but I think in particular women are very vulnerable to whack jobs. I mean, to nutballs who want to prove to you whatever. I mean, we all know that things like rape aren't about sex. They're about being in control and about, making yourself feel good by making somebody else feel small. So I would think more than anybody, this is an appropriate thing for women to be doing.
Yeah, and the first thing that you should always know, despite any weapon, despite any tactic, the first thing that you always need to have is awareness and follow your instinct. If something's off or feels off, it probably is. So, you have to be aware of your environment and how you feel and quit putting stuff off to the side. There's actually a great book called The Gift of Fear, written by a guy named Gavin DeBecker.
And I just bought that book about 2 weeks ago.
Fantastic book, Dave. You're going to love it.
I'm in about 3 chapters into it.
Yeah, it's it brings you in right away, right from page 1. So let me know how you like that towards the end.
I'm going to do that. We have a call from Will. How you doing, Will?
Good. How you doing?
We're doing fine. What would you like to pose to Nick or Barb?
Nick, I was just wondering how your training differs from MMA.
Well, Will, when we talk about tactical training versus martial arts versus self-defense, they all have a different place in the world, okay? MMA still has clothing requirement, weight classes, padded floor, 3 months to prepare and watch film on your fighter. We're dealing with a completely different arena. We want live action, real-life scenarios, true street-style self-defense.
Okay. I was also wondering which techniques you find work best in a close situation on the street like that, and also what targets on your attacker are most effective.
Thanks for the call, Nick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Thanks for the call, Will. Go ahead, Nick.
Thanks, Will. Vital targets are always going to be the eyes, the throat, the groin, and the shin. You cannot condition these targets to receive pain. You can't run laps. You can't lift weights. They're always going to be the same. So those are the targets that I typically go after first.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND, and we're taking calls at 312-642-5600. Or go to Facebook, like On Target Radio, and ask a question there. We'll be happy to answer it. And while you're there, recommend us to your friends. Barb, tell me a little bit about why you think this type of training is good for women. Now, I know we talked about just the very fact that women tend to be more of a target, but have you found that there are other benefits to doing this other than the obvious, you feel like you can defend yourself?
Yeah, I do. For myself, not only am I learning tactics to be able to protect myself, but I've also watched my self-confidence grow and feel more comfortable with myself, more comfortable in situations, walking the dog and stuff like that. But then also, I'm very passionate about this mentoring that I do, and I see a lot of these girls as they're going off to college, and the youth, especially the young girls going off to college, tend to put themselves in very vulnerable positions. And those are the girls and the women that I would love to see get into the women's self-defense classes and see them get the skills that they need as they go off to college.
What sort of percentage do you have in your program?
Inherently, you will always see a majority of males who will join, because you're talking about close quarter, hand-to-hand, edge weapons, firearms, batons. Typically, females will not partake in that. However, that monthly women's self-defense seminar that we do, which is a 2-hour course, that is typically a hit. That's usually a full house. And we're looking at opening a 6-week, all-women's only self-defense program.
Super. That's great. We find the same thing in shooting. We have somewhat of a difficult time attracting women. We get some, but we would like to get more. We're going to be back after a few brief messages with more On Target Radio. You're listening to AM 560 WIND.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Conveniently located near the 142nd Street exit of the Bishop Ford Expressway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
And we're back. And this is the moment that Tim's parents have been waiting for all week. And I'll go take a little nap here. But this is Tim's Fighting Back segment.
As brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association. Just before 12:30 a.m. Thursday, December 20th in Shreveport, Louisiana, the police were dispatched to an alleged robbery of an individual at a bank ATM machine. When officers arrived, an adult male victim told them that as he was using the ATM, a pair of men, one of whom was armed with a handgun, demanded that the victim withdraw money from the ATM or he would be shot. During the robbery, the victim, who was also armed, fought back, retrieving his own gun and firing a shot at the two suspects who fled the scene. The victim told police he was not certain if he'd actually struck one of the would-be robbers or not. And by the way, Louisiana is one of the 15 states in this country with a stand-your-ground law and has had concealed carry since 1996. Anyway, moments after receiving the armed robbery report, authorities received a second call from a local hospital regarding a man suffering an apparent gunshot wound, and that man died shortly after his arrival. Officers then uncovered information connecting the deceased and another 20-year-old man to the robbery. They found this other man, who was then taken into custody and booked into the Shreveport City Jail on one count of armed robbery. Police stated that the findings of the investigation would be forwarded to the Parish District Attorney's Office for review to determine if the victim will face any criminal charges. This has been Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms as a sport, for personal protection, and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? ISRA.org or 815-635-3198. That's 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you. Tim, Jason is your friend, isn't he?
Allegedly.
It's either that or he's psychotic, because he keeps coming up with questions. If you get hit by a taser, will a metal body shield absorb the shock? It just worries me a little. He's asking all these questions.
Well, he may be looking for a second line of work. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's somebody I would picture you hanging around with, though. I could see
Hey,
that.
Jason's a good buddy, man. He's somebody you'd want in your corner if you needed somebody.
Especially if you're going to get tased, right?
Well, I just try to hide behind him, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Give him the metal body armor.
Right.
Okay, you're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. We're talking about close-quarter defensive tactics, and our guests are Nick Farooqui and Barb Ehlers from Ballistic Fighting Methods. Tell me what the Tueler drill is, Nick.
The Tueler drill was actually designed right here in Chicago.
By a guy named Tueler.
Yeah, no, that's not true. It's been renamed. That's
what he told me.
No, I don't know what he's telling you. But we had a martial arts expert, Dan Inosanto, who was working with the Cicero Police Department at the time.
Didn't he also work with Chicago PD?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a video of him.
Yes. So he did a staged training session with the police department where they had an apartment building, and they were telling these officers to go inside this mocked-up apartment complex on a domestic call or whatever else. And they would go on in, and he was sitting down at a kitchen table with a edged weapon in front of him. And what he would do is he would grab the edged weapon, bull charge for the officer, and see what that distance is before the officer was able to draw his firearm and actually place a shot. That distance was 21 feet. So man with knife can cover 21 feet before police officer with gun can get it out of his holster. That's the Tueler drill.
Well, when we do the Tueler drill, we do it where we have a shooter and he is facing a target, and we have a runner who has his hand on his shoulder and he's got a handkerchief in his hand.
Yep.
And routinely, it takes a runner can get 21 feet by the first shot and about 30 feet by the time of the second shot. And we all know that typically you're not going to hit somebody on the first shot when you're under stress.
For sure.
We have a call from Frank in Oswego. Frank, what you got to ask Nick?
Well, I actually have a comment, gentlemen, fire-trained gentlemen. Like most or many Americans, concerned about my personal safety and my family, and I'm probably one of the few people listening who has taken both courses in the last month. And I have to comment that both courses are excellent, both the home safety, concealed weapon, and the edged weapon training. I asked Nick if he would feel that I would be comfortable with a knife when I finish the course. He said yes, and he's right. He's right.
Well, great, Nick. Great, Frank. We certainly appreciate you calling. Have a Merry Christmas.
Can I ask you a question?
Real quick. We only got a couple seconds.
Okay. Within 6 feet, what do you do if someone attacks you with a knife and you have a knife? What can you just? Can you? Is there enough time to
try and isolate their hand? Don't worry about getting your knife out yet.
And that's about the best you can hope.
That's it.
That is it. That is it for sure. We do have a question from Maria on Facebook in reference to the women's self-defense seminars. What do you, Barb and Nick, feel that makes the Fighting Chance program different from others? You got about 3 seconds.
It's realistic.
You did that in under 3 seconds. I'm impressed, Nick.
That's right.
I'm impressed. That's very good. That's a program that you offer, right? Fighting Chance.
Yes, that is our women's self-defense seminar.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so we might talk a little bit more about that program when we come back after these few misses.
Blah, 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 blah tonight, aren't you?
One of those nights.
This is my job. After these few messages on Target Radio.
For 35 years, Pelcher's Shooter's Supply has served the Lansing area. Pelcher's offers new and used firearm sales, appraisals, and gunsmithing service. Pelcher's new spacious showroom has hundreds of major brand firearms and supplies, and PelcherGuns.com features daily specials. Pelcher's Shooter's Supply on the corner of Ridge Road and Henry Street in downtown Lansing. Online at PelcherGuns.com or call 708-474-0662.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
I just want to know when I lost control of the show. That's the only. Just somebody tell me when I lost control. This is out of. Tell your buddy Jason to take a hike.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Everybody, we have brought Christmas cookies in for our Christmas show today, and
you spiked them, didn't you?
No, I was just going to tell Dave, go have a cookie. We'll take over.
Yeah,
we'll get it going.
Yeah. Well, you've already taken over. This is insanity. Let's talk to somebody who has got some sense of logic and reason. Doug Mayall, first vice president of the Illinois State Rifle Association, is on. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing real good. Sound like you guys are doing real good too, even if you don't have control, Dave.
Well, it's just and in between, during the commercials, it gets a little funny in here. We got some strange people. What's up, Doug?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that my grandson and I took a course with Nick a few weeks ago, and I think it was an excellent course. I'm an older guy, and of course he's a younger guy, and I think it was great for both of us. It gave me a lot of confidence in dealing with the situation if it ever comes up, and I'm just looking forward to being able to take more courses. So.
Well, that's what we like to hear, Doug. I particularly like the fact that you take Nick's courses and not mine, but that's okay, Doug. We
okay.
We love you anyway.
Unique.
Thanks a lot, and have a Merry Christmas, Doug.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Hey, thanks, Doug.
Bye-bye.
By the way, Dave,
yes.
Doug Mayall actually has me coming out on January 16th to the Will County ISRA to do a demonstration there.
Nope, nobody ever asked me.
I'm just telling you.
Well, I've done demonstrations. No, you're talking about at the meeting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they'll have anybody out there. They've had me.
Yeah.
They've had Tim.
For anybody who doesn't know, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association has a meeting the third Wednesday of every month at Ivo's Restaurant at the intersection of I-55 and Illinois State 6 in Shanahan. Open to the public. You do not need to be an ISRA member to show up, but it's always a good time. And Doug and others that belong to the state organization come and tell us what's going on in Washington, D.C. and in Springfield. And we always have a featured speaker also, and Nick is the featured speaker.
Bill him for that extra advertising. Jeff from St. Charles has a question about getting women into classes. Jeff, how you doing? Well,
things you could do to get more women in your classes. First off, print up a pocket-sized card with the dates and times. I would do this for the whole year. That way you don't have to keep reprinting them out and just putting them up. You want to post these at beauty salons and other women-oriented businesses and leave them a stack at the desk. You want to create some kind of a rapport with them so they'll let you post them and so they don't throw them out. Gear brochures to women. Maybe you might have like a women's class that you would list on there or something. one idea I have here is make a ladies' night. Maybe, I don't want it to sound too much like a bar. Another one is at least have the first visit free for women. Another one is maybe half price after that. And you could have a couple classes free. Then here's mentioned ladies' defense class, so they don't think it's a guy thing they're going to. And then the last thing I wrote down was allow women to join free for a limited time.
Well, Jeff, we certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Have a Merry Christmas. I have a question.
Yeah.
When would it be inappropriate to have a firearm? And not necessarily have it, but to use it.
I cannot teach you ethics and morals. What I can tell you is having a firearm in a self-defense situation is like having any other tool in your toolbox. If all you have is a hammer and you need to paint the wall, the hammer's not going to cut it. Most people are going to encounter a lower level of violence, meaning we're walking out of the store, bump shoulders with somebody, he's having a bad day, he turns around and gives us the old Charles Bronson right hook. If you step back and pull out your Smith & Wesson 45 M&P and put 3 in his chest and 2 in his head, you're the bad guy no matter what happened.
Well, and the whole issue of morality is a big deal.
Yeah.
And people don't, I think, always grasp. It's not an insignificant thing to use a firearm.
It is very serious.
It is. And open-handed strategy, if that works, is a far better choice. And I know there are going to be people who are going to go, he doesn't want us to have guns. That's not the case at all. The problem is a firearm presents an irreversible decision. And once you've done it, if anything turns out wrong, you can't undo it.
Mind you, how you were just saying that under stress, you're probably going to miss that first shot. Where did that first shot go? Did it take out some 8-year-old schoolgirl walking across the street?
Absolutely. We say this in every home protection concealed carry seminar. Every time you pull the trigger, even on a range, you are liable for where that bullet ends up, like it or not.
But that being said, it is a great tool to have in your toolbox, but it is just that you cannot depend solely on that firearm. It is not a cure-all. It's not a 100% solution for a 100% problem.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. We're talking about close-quarter defensive tactics. We got about a minute before we go to break, but how does this compare to training they get in the military, you get in law enforcement?
Well, a lot of our program is taught to law enforcement and military through my instructors and myself. But the tactics to use, military, they will go from rifle to pistol to edge weapon to chemical to hand-in-hand. That hand-to-hand is their last resort. In civilian life, hand-to-hand has to be the first resort. We have to escalate the situation up to the point where we feel that a firearm is necessary.
Well, and particularly, one of the things we show in our home protection concealed carry seminar is if somebody is up close to you and has a handgun, as we said earlier, it's virtually impossible for you to get one out. He has the drop on you. As soon as you make that fast move, you know what's going to happen.
Right.
Taking a gun away from somebody that close is not that difficult a thing to do, is it?
Yes and no. Is it that difficult? No. But it requires training.
Oh, absolutely.
Like anything else.
Sure, you don't just grab.
Yeah.
You have to be trained. But what I'm saying is we show people in the seminar how if they're holding a gun on you and they're standing right in front of you, how you can take a gun away from them. But as we always tell people, if you don't practice this regularly, it's a perishable skill. We're going to be back after a few more messages. We're going to wrap up the show, and we're talking about close-quarter defensive tactics. You're listening to AM 560, WIND. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487. 5487.
You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Nick, when I did take your knife class,
Yep.
and I did have a great time. And I will say this. I joke about Nick all the time. I tease him. We give each other a hard time. He is truly one of the best instructors I know. You really are. You're very good with people.
Well, thank you very much.
You don't look like you'd be. You look like a jerk, but you're actually very, very good with people.
I appreciate that.
I was impressed with your teaching. And you were kind enough, you and your Tim, we have more Tims than you can shake a stick at.
Right.
You and your Tim bought me a knife, which since taking that class, I never go anywhere without that knife.
Yeah.
That's a good choice to carry with you all the time. What would you recommend in that?
If you are looking for a edge weapon to carry on you, obviously in Illinois it has to be a folder. Cold steel makes an excellent quality blade. Spyderco, if you have the money that you want to spend for it, the Benchmades are very nice. If you just don't have the $50, $60 range, you want to keep it as cheap as possible, go to a Walmart, go find a Gerber knife. They have the spring assist, they're folders, they lock up, they're very thin in profile. It'll hold up for the purpose for a while.
Show us the knife. Oh, here's my knife. Can you see that? It's a great knife. It really is. And I thank you for that. Yes, and you take out that hog. What can I say?
That's right.
We got just a couple minutes left. Tell people about how they can get in touch with you, and tell them a little bit about your business.
Okay. I own a civilian-based martial arts school in Carpentersville, which is just north of Elgin, called Ballistic Fighting Methods. You can go up to ballisticfightingmethods.com to check out the website. You can contact me directly at streetsafe101.com, which talks a little bit more about my more tactical side training rather than just my studio. And we are very much based on reality-based self-defense. We'll teach you everything from edge weapons to hand-to-hand to batons, ground fighting, close quarter, you name it. It goes all across the board.
What kind of physical condition do you need to be in?
If you have proper tactics, obviously the more fit that you are, the better it's going to be. But you don't need to be some Olympian athlete to get in and get involved. Start off, and we'll start teaching the tactics, and you'll inherently, as you're learning more, you will get in better shape as well.
And you have a thing called Ballistic Combat Camp?
So, very cool thing that I'm doing, Dave. First time I'm doing this. I'm planning for a February date. The Ballistic Combat Camp is actually a 2-day intensive. We're going to be training for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours each day, and this is going to be at my studio. And I'm going to go over everything from hand-to-hand, edge weapons, batons, close quarter, ground fighting, control tactics, and such. A lot of the information that I'm going to be giving is something that I've only given to law enforcement and military. So because of the content, I'm making this a very exclusive type of a intensive. You're going to have to contact me, fill out an application. There's going to be a brief telephone interview, and I'm limiting the number to 20 only. And if you are interested in learning the best possible information for self-defense, this is going to be the answer for you.
Great. I'd like to thank our guests, Nick Farooqui and Bob Ehlers. Bob. This has been a bad day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If there's anyone on the planet that does not look like a Bob, it's Barb.
It's Barb.
Barb Ehlers. We'd like to thank Tim Montague, our technical consultant, for diddling with the cameras. Jack Deiters, our intern, and today our call screener because Vicki and Robin are on vacations. George Hoffman on the board. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Illinois Gunworks, Chuck's Gun Shop, Pelcher's Shooter Supplies, Illinois State Rifle Association, our website developer 31 Moons, Gotcha Outdoors, and Safer USA. Next week, 2012 Perspective and 2013 Prognostication. ISRA Executive Director Richard Pearson is going to be here, and it'll just be Tim and Richard and I talking about the past and the future. Until then, be sure to friend us on Target Radio on Facebook, and thanks for listening. Say good night, Tim.
Good night, everybody. And remember, we'll have the recorded shows up on our podcast. They'll be on iTunes, and we'll have them on YouTube, and probably by Monday night or Tuesday night.
And we hope that you'll be back at 9 p.m. next week for more On Target Radio. And thanks, Mike, for making it all possible.
We have a countdown timer.